Hello and welcome to another edition of the SGR Coffee Break. Yes, I am back home. Yay! Which means I can finally play The Division. Yay! I wasn't even home for 5 minutes before I fired up my PS4 and got that bitch bought and downloading.
You could have done that from where you were.
I could have, except for I unplug, like, all of my desk stuff. I unplug it all, and then the TV and stuff gets unplugged too. So that way if there's any sort of, like, power surges or whatever, I don't have to worry about, blowing stuff up. So.
You're paranoid.
Yeah, I know. And just like that, the recycling guy shows up.
Well,
Congratulations. Timing.
But you also have a new headset.
I do have a new headset. No more. I actually got home and plugged it in because after our podcast last week, that morning or Friday morning, I woke up. Was like, okay, was it VC causing the problem? Was it OBS causing the problem? Because Blake and I had a quick Skype call before the podcast actually to go over some of his review, and he didn't bring up any your mic is crackling and all that. So anyway, fired up my opened up Windows, listened back, and it was just I was like, oh shit. Okay, so it wasn't any of those. So I thought maybe it was the laptop. Maybe the laptop was going bad. Got home, plugged it into my computer at home. Yeah, mic was just completely out. Just nothing. So apparently some part of the wire in the microphone part just broke.
Yeah.
No, the headphones still work. So they're sitting over there. Because when I'm using my PS4, I'll actually watch a stream and all that other jazz. What's nice about this one, though, is that it's all USB. So I just plug it into my PS4 now, and I can use this as a PS4 headset, too.
Oh, can it use the mic as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, you plug it into the PS4 and go to the audio devices, and it automatically will switch over to USB device. So, way to go, PS4. And apparently it does the same thing on Xbox One, but, the only time I turn my Xbox One on is to...
Except for the mic part. You have to use their...
Stupid thing.
Proprietary thing. Because that's what they had with the Xbox 360. My Turtle Beach headset, it has an extra cord that would go from, the headset to the Xbox 360 controller, so I could use the mic, which is why I couldn't use that headset for the PS3, because that worked with Bluetooth or USB.
Come on, companies. Let's just make this all unified, so that way we can just use whatever.
I don't know, the USB thing I think is the way to go. My PS4 headset it's a wireless USB. And it's great.
Yeah. I usually don't like USB headsets because I like, my sound card that's on my computer because I can adjust all that, but for ease of use, this works out really well. And they're actually pretty decent, except for this giant frickin' rainbow I have going on over my head. I feel like I should dangle some Lego toys or something off of that. It's ridiculous.
Well, you should. You can decorate it.
Yeah. But anyway, this is not a headset podcast. Well, it is because we're using headsets, but we're not here to talk about headsets. No. In fact, we have a pretty decent conversation to talk about today. And
Microsoft announced, I think it was this week. I'm losing track of my days. They announced this week that they are, for their ID Xbox program, which is their tools for indie developers, they want to not only give them the tools to make their products compatible for both Xbox One and for Windows, but also open up the doors for cross-network play. Meaning, not just Windows, but Steam and possibly PS4. Of course, it's up to the developers, and it's also up to Sony. I don't think Steam cares one way or the other. Rocket League is already... they're on board. They've already gotten it through Steam, so pretty soon you'll be able to play Rocket League on Xbox One with your Xbox One friends, your Steam friends, your Windows 10 friends, and the Rocket League has said, hey, the ball is in Sony's court. And to be honest, I think it'd be stupid for Sony to not be willing to open it up.
Yeah. So, our topic this week is actually cross-platforming. Cross-platform play. And, a friend and I actually started talking about this morning because we were talking about The Division, and he brought up how because I mean we're all adults now. Well, most of us are adults, whatever. But all my friends, I mean, we're all adults. Most of them have kids now. So like adulthood, taking care of parenting and all that. So being able to play with friends becomes a little bit of a pain in the ass because you pretty much got to try to schedule that, right? And you got to hope that your schedules all work out. It's not as easy as it used to be. And he was talking about how, he kind of misses, he wishes that on Destiny that, because he's got friends that are playing on Xbox One and now he's playing on PS4, and it would be great if if the two systems would actually allow people to play together. And I was like, that is really stupid because I remember last week when I was in Nebraska, I really wanted to play The Division, but Ubisoft is like, you create your character on the PS4, so you get your PS4 character, you get a 360 or an Xbox One character, and you get your PC character. And I was like, we're all connecting to the Ubisoft server, so how hard is it for them to go, okay, here's your character, have fun? Square does it with Final Fantasy 14. You make a character on PS4 and you can play it on PC.
I think that Valve did it as well for Portal 2 between PS3 and PC. Because they connected Steam with the PS3 so that people, when you played co-op with Portal 2, you could play between PS3 and PC. So this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, and Capcom with Street Fighter V, you can actually see if they're playing on PC or PS4.
Oh, I didn't know that they were cross-platform. Okay, that's very cool.
In fact, I saw a couple people yesterday complaining about that because the matchmaking, I guess, takes longer because it's actually searching that breadth of
boo fucking who.
But it takes them like 5 to 10 minutes now to try to find a match. Whereas if you're on PS4, if you have the option to actually turn off looking for PC opponents, and I guess it's only on ranked matches. If you just let it go and do whatever, casual and ranked at the same time, anyway. But Capcom does that, right? So you got PS4 and PC players playing together. You got Final Fantasy 14, where you have no idea what platform they're playing on, but you're playing. They just took that massive horde of people and just dumped them into the one pool, and it's like, why can't, with all these games now requiring us to be online, now we're starting to see a lot more stuff where we're connecting to company servers, Division, Destiny, even GTA. You play GTA Online. You're connecting to these servers. So why is it, if we're already connecting to that server, what is so hard for them to be like, okay, well, here's your player pool, have fun? But
I don't know if it's about difficulty or if it's about Sony and Microsoft going no, because they want people on their platform, not to share.
The other thing that I kind of came up with is because we were talking Destiny at the time, we were actually talking everything, but Destiny was an easy one because Destiny had PS4. Sony has an exclusivity deal with Bungie, where PS4 users get like one strike and a couple weapons a year before Xbox One users get it, and that's where we saw when the Taken King came out, and Xbox users finally got to have, I think it was the Gallarhorn and something else, and everybody's like, oh, hey, look, you finally get to play it. And then a week later they nerfed it, so yay, good on you. So I was kind of thinking maybe that has something to do with it, but at the same point, it's like, you don't have to allow if you're having that exclusivity part, it's not like Xbox users are going to be able to get that, but just being able to allow players to join in, if you're doing, because the raids are all the same. There's no exclusive raid content on the PS4. Same thing with I think Xbox has a exclusivity deal for the Division.
For the Division, yes, they get the DLC a month ahead of PS4 people. I think that sounds right.
And does that work with on the PC? Like, is it just for Xbox One, or did PC people get that too?
PC is not. It's not a Windows 10 game, so that's through Uplay. So no.
So, I mean, take Rocket League. Everybody's connecting. I mean, you can play it solo or couch co-op. Yay! Finally, couch co-op on a game. But when you're playing online, right, you're connecting to servers. How hard is it really to allow people to play these. And then the other aspect is I really wish that if we're connecting to your server, and it would probably sell, some people like me would probably buy your game twice, just that way we could have it to be able to play on different platforms. So, when I'm traveling and if I want to play The Division, which my laptop can run it, it won't run great, but it will run it. At least then when I'm on the road, I could keep playing a game that I'm currently addicted to.
With the same people?
With the same people, have my same character, keep working on that progress, get to level 30, start working on Dark Zone rank. At this point, come on, man. If you're forcing us all to be online, allow us to at least play with, all of our friends, regardless of what platform they're on. It's kind of reminiscent of MMOs, where, back in the day, it was you would create a character on a server, and then you'd find out your friends were on a different server, so then you'd go roll another character on their server so you could play with them. Then they leave, and you find some new friends. They're like, oh, I'm not on that server, I'm on this server. So somebody's got to re-roll it. Guild Wars does it so well, where you just transfer servers and you're
actually, I think Final Fantasy lets you transfer servers too.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I think one day I got lost in the whole MOG center trying to figure something out, and it talked about how to transfer. I think you can only do it once.
Oh, that's a character transfer.
No, it was actually server. It mentioned server. Because I saw the character transfer too, because like from PS3 to PS4, I think I saw that, but I don't. It's been so long since I even looked at that.
Yeah. Anyway, it would be nice if Sony and Microsoft could actually work together.
The thing is, Microsoft seems willing, and I think it's one of those situations where, once again, when they're coming from behind, whereas, if we're back in the last console generation, we might see Sony being the one begging for the cross-platform, and Microsoft being like, why? We got everybody over here. What's the point? So,
and then you have Nintendo.
But I think the cool thing about having that is so that way people wouldn't be like, well, what are you getting it on? I'll get it on that too. That way you can get it on your personal platform of choice. Because some people, they might like the Xbox One controller better than the PS4, or they just prefer the Xbox One platform better, or they prefer the PS4 connectivity better. Something, instead of making people choose, Yeah.
Or making them
or making them play on a platform they don't prefer.
Yeah.
Like, I think Ross would love to play The Division on PC, but since we're all playing on PS4, that's what he ended up doing.
Yeah. And after watching streams last week, I was like, I really want this on PC, just because it looks a little bit better and runs a little bit smoother. But ultimately, I got it on PS4, and it's not bad in any sort of way.
Well, what I said in my review is that this is probably the most beautiful photorealism game I've ever seen on a console. So I can't imagine what this would look like on PC.
Yeah, the stuff that I was seeing, it was fantastic. I mean, they're still similar, but there's just it's a PC, so you get a little there's some
little
differences. Sharper, runs a little bit. It's not as janky when you're doing turns. I can say that at least when I was playing, I didn't have all the weird loading lag that was happening with some people last week. So
I have not had, with The Division, any of the issues people have complained about since day one. I've never had people ruining stuff in safe houses. I've never seen the line in front of a laptop.
Yeah, when I started playing, my brothers were like, "Oh, so you're getting to that line part for the laptop?" And I was like, "What line? I'm already out of the safe house. I don't. What line am I?" I was like, "Okay, so when do I get to this line that everybody?" Anyway. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. And everyone's like, "Oh, you just got lucky." I'm like, well, you could say that, but I played it the night it released. Had no server issues then. The worst I've had is I've gotten to a queue, which took a whole maybe an extra minute
to
load.
During heavy times, I'm usually like position 400 or something like that, and it takes all of a couple seconds to get through that. But
yeah, it doesn't take. I think the longest I waited is a minute because I was like 800. Whereas this was like when the game just released. Yeah. I've never had connectivity drops. I did play with severe lag, but that was not their fault. It was the way I was trying to play, and I don't recommend that at all. That was not pleasant.
You
That
know,
was freaking awful. And I actually threw a controller. And I said, I can't do this anymore. And Sean, he ran off. We have the most tacky thing going on. I don't know if you can see it above the door here. You see that white?
yeah.
That's Cat 5. That is over there and is going down the stairs because I played downstairs so I could watch the kids because he had to work. And playing in the wireless, like I've said this before, we have this weird thing in the house with the internet, with the wireless, and I was getting like I think I was uploading like a few thousand kbs. It wasn't even mbs, it was kbs. So when we hooked up the wired, the level I was playing that took me an hour to get halfway through, I completed the entire thing without dying in 10 minutes. And it was mainly because at that point I had the script down. I knew exactly where they were coming from, who was coming. I actually knew how to exploit some of their stuff. But regardless, but when it happened was over, I turned to Sean and I was like, so I don't suck at this. It was just the lag, because it'd be one of those things like I would die. I'm like, what even killed me? I have no idea what killed me. And it's like, you were on fire. I'm like, by what? And then a minute later, you would see me on fire. I'm like, I can't protect that when I don't even see the fire coming.
Yeah. Oh, brother.
Or the melee guys that would just, I would dive roll away from them, but they hit me anyway with the axe because the lag, because it just didn't, my perception and the game's perception were like 2 minutes behind. So.
Oh, surfers. Anyway.
I'm like, okay. So I was ready to be really pissed. Like, okay, apparently I suck at this and I need help getting in. And then when we changed the internet setting, like, okay, no. Yeah. Just don't play an MMO when you got any sort of lag.
Yeah, no. Don't play shooters either. That's the other thing. Yeah, for cross-platform, there's always been this debate. What's better, mouse and keyboard for shooters or controllers?
It's preference.
Yes, it is. But now you could actually put some of those fucking trolls that are like, oh, mouse and keyboard is better than keyboard or controller. If we had cross-play, like in Call of Duty, you could actually put up you could actually almost make this like an esport event. Have one team be all controllers and one team be mouse and keyboard users, and just throw them in like a Friday night exhibition and just see what the hell happens. Just throw them in.
You can do that now with the PC, make half of them do mouse and keyboard, another half do Xbox 360 controllers. My first real experience with first person was Portal, and I played it on the 360, and I just could not move the analog stick fast enough to get her to aim down. Like when you're trying to, portal yourself through, and then as you're falling, make another portal so that you shoot yourself out so you can go further. And I just could not do it. And so I tried it on PC because I was like, well, if you're having trouble with that, just try it on PC. And the mouse just made it so much easier to do the quick turn. Now, I've also tried to play, so I understood that. But I've also tried to play first-person shooters with the mouse, and I cannot get my mouse sensitivity correct for me. It's just like I take it a little bit, it's like, or it's just way too slow. And I think it's just practice. Like whereas with the controller, I can see where the precision would be with the mouse because you see the pointer, you see exactly where to click and all that. But with the controller, if you just get used to that, that's where your muscle memory is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to beat either side because I suck at these things, but my preference would be a controller over a mouse.
Oh yeah, I know a lot. Anyway. There's a lot of bashing of people that play on PC and then use a controller. I'm just like, play what's comfortable. Enjoy it.
Well, that's just an example of elitism coming in, and the PC reviews for the Division are coming in, and they're much lower than for the console reviews. And from what I've been reading, it's because, seriously, Ubisoft does not do good PC ports. I don't know why this shocks anybody. They just don't. They try. They really do, but they don't. And secondly, the Dark Zone has already been hacked to shit. Because that's what you do in PC. I mean, that's why with Call of Duty you get like maybe one free week of playing the multiplayer without it being hacked to death, and then the next week you go in and there's these drones that have been hacked with bombs that'll just fly in and find you. Like, I don't get what the fun is in that, but other people do it because it continues and they can't stop all of it. They just
That,
can't.
that does bring an interesting point for the cross-platforming for having PC people playing with console people is that aimbots. There's a big thing on the CS:GO stuff is aimbotting and leg switching and all that. And leg switching happens regardless of what you're playing on. But aimbots in particular, those are so prevalent on a lot of first-person shooters now. Just like I said, CS:GO. That if you allow that, all of a sudden the console people are at a disadvantage because you got somebody cheating on one side and kicking the ass of somebody that because you can't put an aimbot on a PS4 or an Xbox
Well,
One.
isn't aimbotting considered cheating anyway?
Yeah, but people still do it, Valve is pretty good at going through and kind of cleaning house on some of those cheaters, but it's one of those things that if we were to have that cross-platforming, how is that going to start? Because now all of a sudden you're going to start making a bunch of console people really mad because you've clearly got cheaters.
Or if you take that away, like if you really clean on the PC, then they're going to start screaming like what they already did. Because one of the first comments I got when I posted my news article about Microsoft wanting to open it up to other platforms, they're like, no, we don't want this because all you're doing is bringing the dumbed down console shit to PCs. I'm like, okay, I don't understand what is dumbed down. I don't get it. Maybe it's because of the lack of customization. Is that what it is?
But
I don't know.
That's a hard one because, if you're going to put a game on PC, right? I'm going to guess that you're still allowing people to have all that customization and controls and all that jazz. I know we keep coming back to the Division, but it's a really good one right now because it's out right now. And, on PC, there's a lot more graphical tweaks that you can do. You can either play it with gamepad or you can play it with mouse and keyboard. It just... the one thing that I could almost see maybe being an issue too would be how do you report somebody? If you're if you're on PS4 and you're getting grief by somebody on PC, but they're playing on Steam, all of a sudden now you got to start figuring out. I guess we would have to start figuring out how does Steam start sending user IDs over to the PSNs. That way, if you want to file a report because somebody's truly being a toxic player, how would you handle that? How do you do that?
That's valid because you need to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole bunch of PC or even Xbox One people just doing fanboy turf war thing because they know they can get away with it.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think about how Capcom handles that, but I know that when you're, I know for the rage quitting right now, they're working on that.
They can't even figure out how to stop rage quitting, so they're probably not the best person to look at for griefing it. How do you even grief in?
Well, for Street Fighter V, it would just be the rage quitting, but on that one, it's because right now, because Capcom is allowing people to play on PS4 and they're able to fight people on PC, and they all have their IDs up at the top. I'm guessing if you were to report somebody, that would go to Capcom because you're reporting it based off of whatever the ID is that they came in.
I don't even know if there is a reporting system.
I don't think there is either, but I'm just working through some situations in my head, like, how would you do that? But at the end, I would still love it because it just opens up the player base so much more. If Microsoft and Sony were to actually get together and be like, okay, hey, look, this is how it's going to work. And I get that some of this is all on developers' ends too, because if you look at, again, Capcom, they made it so that way PC and PS4 people can fight against each other. And you've got Square allowing people to roam around their virtual world together. Rocket League is still locked down though, right? It's if you're on PC, you're on PC.
Still is. I think Rocket League you can go to Steam, Xbox, Windows 10, and Steam. I guess the only way that you could do it, like reporting the griefing, is that you'd have to make the developers or the publishers take on a stronger role with that. Like Square Enix, you would make your reports to Square Enix because they're the ones that are maintaining servers. They're the ones that you're paying your $15 a month to.
Yeah.
So they would be and you'd report it by the character name, and then they would be able to find the ID and deal with, because you also have to have a Square Enix ID That's how they do it. So either we would have to have a whole bunch of like Ubisoft to do it by your Uplay ID, which is a possibility,
Yeah.
or EA with your what's it called, Origin ID. But or the other problem with that is like how many IDs we're all gonna have. Am I gonna have to have like, my little table in front of me, all 20? Granted, that might all be the same for me, which if I get hacked one, then I have to change like all 20 of them. But you got that reality as well.
Yeah. I don't. I still. I would
I think what
really.
we're saying is it's a good idea, but we don't have all the answers to make it work.
Yeah. Because, I mean, for me, I can see the greatness in it, right? Because it just opens up that player base. You get a lot more people to play with, and like you had alluded to earlier, you don't have that debate. What platform do I buy it on? Do I have to buy the game twice? Because I want to play it on one. My main preference is one system, but all my friends are playing on another system, which then means I have to work on two characters, and because whatever, even you don't even have to take the division. If you're looking at Street Fighter V and you got a rank on one system, and if they didn't have that PC PS4 connectivity, some of your friends are playing on PS4, so you got to rank up on PS4, and then you want to play on PC because that's more your preference. Now you got to work on that character again, right? You got to work on your rank
Right.
and that. So
Well, it's the same thing with Mortal Kombat 10. Or Mortal Kombat X, you can't play with
right, you can't do that.
PC. Well, PC's pretty much been,
Yeah, kick to the door.
yeah,
Straight
but
curve.
you can't play with your Xbox One friends on Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah, it's just, I get that there's going to be some nuances, like how do you handle the reporting? If you're going to allow PC people in, how do you handle cheaters?
Hmm.
But at the same point, just being able to play with friends regardless of what they're playing on, being like, hey, look, I'm going to be on at this time. Everybody gets on. Doesn't really matter what they're playing on. Everybody just gets on, has a good time.
Hmm.
Uh, if you're playing something that has progression, your character follows you regardless of what you're.
Maybe it would actually unify us as gamers a little bit more, less of the fanboy mentality.
That would be so nice. You'd
I
still
mean, there'd
have.
still be some,
Yeah,
but
but
maybe it wouldn't be as
yeah,
close.
because not everybody can play on their platform of choice, and everybody can just have a good time playing games with each other. It's a win. It's a win for like everybody because we all just get to play games and you can check your fanboy. I mean, it's still gonna be like Ford versus Chevy. I mean, whatever. But it would be nice to see this come to fruition in the next couple of years to actually see a lot more cross-platforming kind of going on. It'd be great.
Notice that nobody's talking to Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo. Nintendo's gonna be like, no, no, no. We all have to give everybody a number. You can't just let them have whatever unique name they want. No, you get
Well,
a
they
number.
kind of have the Nintendo IDs now,
Yeah, they're getting there.
which you can't put on more than one 3DS. I'm still pissed about this because I want to use both of my 3DSs. And I want to put my network ID on my son's 3DS so that I can share with him some games I've already bought.
Oh, Nintendo, you were so good at one point.
Because I would like, because it's getting to the point where he can get his very first Pokemon game. And I thought it'd be fun to get him like Pokemon Red, because that just came out. But I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sign him up for his own Nintendo Network ID and put a credit card. No, that's not happening.
Although, if you allowed cross-platform onto Nintendo, let's say Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony all were like, fuck it, let's just do it. Let it. I wonder if that would actually start driving some developers to maybe actually go on it. I mean, you still have to push, system sales, but
Oh, I think I think developers aren't developing for Nintendo until the next system comes out.
yeah, the NX. But
Although it's been revealed at GDC that the big developers know nothing about the NX, so it sounds like the launch lineup will be just Nintendo games, which is what the problem Nintendo's had with the Wii U.
yeah. And I'm trying to, on the Wii U, it seems like most of their games are primarily single player. I mean, you got like Splatoon where it's multiplayer, but
Hmm.
I think Nintendo's more the,
Oh, and Mario Maker. Well, I mean, that's
uh,
a share.
it's make your level and then upload it. I don't know, man. I just keep saying it'd be great in one aspect, but there's obviously a lot of things that still need to be, and we're only scratching the surface of it. I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that we would have to deal with. I mean, you got exclusivity deals. I mean, how do you lock that out so that way players still feel like they're able to have fun cross-platform? But you're looking at that. It's like going back to Destiny. You're looking at that guy that has that one weapon that PS4 gets, and you're like, where did you get that?
Well, with the weapon thing, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. It's the extra leveling content, like
the extra strike. I mean, how do you, like, if you're in a party?
How do you keep them out of that?
Yeah. So I could see that. This is why exclusivity deals are kind of shit, but whatever.
But I understand why they have them. People are just trying to do what they can to get ahead and stay alive.
Yep. So it's all about the money.
Crazy world.
It's all about the money. So, I mean, Sony forked out a lot of money for Bungie, and obviously Microsoft forked out a good hefty amount of money for Ubisoft, so it's just the way it is. It's what we got to deal with now. So, but hey, who knows? Maybe tomorrow we'll get a thing that says Microsoft and Sony came to an agreement, and finally in the next year we'll all be playing together and having fun. But that's all speculation. It'd be great.
I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, don't hold your breath. Please don't hold your breath. I don't want to be responsible for you suffocating yourself. Just open your mouth and breathe. Just let it be.
And play what makes you happy.
Yes. Play what makes you happy on a system that you enjoy, and fuck the rest of it. Just enjoy what you're doing. So, speaking of what playing, Carrie, I'm assuming you played some games this week, within the last week.
Yeah. I have not played enough Division. Like, seriously, like, I kind of want to take off the rest of this week and next week of work to just play the Division.
It is a good time. It is a good time. And as we were talking about earlier, like last week, so we've both been playing the Division. Let's just get that out of the way. Let's just get this whole thing out of the way.
But we can't talk about it too much, because that is going to be our book of the month.
It is. I can say that in my experience, I haven't really seen any of the freezing that I saw on the Xbox One players that they were doing. So they would have...
I have seen some weird graphical glitches.
Yeah, I've had some pop-ins.
I haven't seen the pop-ins, but I've had some weird things where, like, I was playing with my friend Eric, and there was this wall, and when I walked past it, I noticed that this white mark on it disappeared. And then I backed up, and then it was there. And I moved, and it was gone. I was like, Eric, look at this wall. Are you seeing this? And so he and I were moving back and forth, and it would be like half and half. Like, there was that, and there was one guy who was totally frozen in place, which we got a screenshot of that. And one guy who actually fell through the stairs. But, those things you just expect.
And I've had dogs come out, like, with missing parts of textures missing. So it's like...
Oh, I haven't had that.
You have part of a rib here. There's like, stage over here. A little bit of fur down here. A little bit of stage over... It's really odd. It was like, okay. And then, like you did, I back... So it catches you off guard when you see that weird shit. Mm-hmm. So I backed up and came back, and the game was like, oh, let me finish loading that up for you. It's just like, okay. I guess we have some
Although
weird...
Eric had something similar where we were in a room, and I think it was like a little engine, and he said that the casing didn't pop in, but just the gears did. He said it took a while for the casing to set. He was just like, is it supposed to be stripped like that? And then the casing popped in. So he was describing it to me like, okay, that's kind of awesome that they had all those textures underneath the casing.
Oh, it's so good. But I mean, usually as people get out of work, obviously, is when the queue times start happening. Yesterday I played at lunch, got right into the game. That was fine.
Mm-hmm. During the day, I never have a problem.
But the biggest thing that I heard last week, and you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, was that, like, the game is lacking in story. Like, everybody's saying, oh, the story's shit, don't worry about it. And if you're just going through the main story, it's just kind of strung along. It's basically just there to get you from point A to point B, to point C to point D, to all that. But if you actually go around the world and start looking for all the little collectibles, the cell phones, the laptops, the echoes, that kind of thing, you find out that this game has some pretty decent... It has a pretty decent story as far as all the, getting you to kind of see what happened. It also really does a lot at showing just how shitty humans can be to one another.
Yes. Well, the way I explained it was that no, it doesn't have a deep story, but it's the story is in the setting. It's the environment. You are called in to try to bring order to this absolute chaos. So that is the story. There is no deeper thing. You're not trying to find your missing child, which I think if you did a Fallout 4 thing to it, because like Eric and I were talking about that too, where we agreed that Fallout doesn't need that deeper story either. The story is the post-apocalyptic setting, and he said he hated the story of Fallout 4 because he's like it was just kind of forced in there, and you never once do feel the pressure you normally do with the story. And what we liked about Division is that they didn't shoehorn something else like that in there. That this, you're there on a job. This is what you do. Um, the environment is where the story is, and and it's more than what I could get out of people. Like, what's the story of Destiny? And they're like, well,
Have you read the wiki? Have you read
yeah.
the
You
wiki?
see, you shouldn't have to do that.
No. But like you, I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm sad that I didn't get to play it last week. I'm going to correct that. I'm actually probably going back out to Nebraska again next week for a quick short stint because I then leave the week afterwards for a big photo trip. But trying to set up the Nebraska offices of Christmas Photography. Nebraska.
Mm.
Yeah, Nebraska. But I have been very much enjoying it. It is, the only slight complaint I have at this current moment. I'm only level 10, and I don't even know how many hours I've logged in it. I pretty much played all day yesterday because I was just like, screw this. I don't want to do anything today.
You've probably spent more hours than you think you have.
Yeah, probably because I spent all day yesterday in it. I spent what was yesterday?
Because this is
Tuesday.
one of those games where 3 hours would go in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. The only complaint I have so far is I actually have two. One is the game always going, "Hey, your weapons are shit," and I'm like, "Hey, drop some
Yes.
better weapons." Yes, I realize that I'm 3 levels above my weapon, but you haven't given
Yes.
me anything.
Well, sometimes my below level weapons have a better DPS or better stats than
Yeah,
the weapons for my current level.
yeah.
So screw you.
It's like the perks on this one are way nicer. I tried
Yes.
using this other weapon. It sucked. It didn't work out for me. It's kind of like when you get those weapons that heal you or something. You
Right,
kind of don't
right.
like those heals. Uh, the one aspect that I have been finding that gets a little old is it feels a little heavier on the RPG side than what care for. And by that I mean the shooting aspect of it, the cover shooter, the looting, that's all pretty fun. But like coming up on enemies that are just super bullet sponges, I understand that you're
Hmm.
trying to make it longevity and all that, but at some point it was just like, come on. Why is this? I'm 4 levels above this level 5 guy. I just shot him in the head, and I'm still having to. Come on. I understand that you want me to get level 30 weapons to kill these people, but.
Are you talking
Uh,
about like the yellow or the purple?
yeah.
Well,
I mean, I get that they're armor, but at some point I'm just like, okay. And I also understand that they're. You can definitely tell that they're like, let's make this a team based game. The thing that made Destiny work out so well in this aspect was that players were all just running around the world, and I get that you don't want to do that here because everybody's fighting the same boss and all this other jazz. But at least when you were trying to work on something that was a little bit harder than you could handle, at least people were able to random players were running around and everybody would kind of team up and do that. Now you have to either open up your lobbies that way any random person can join you, which then sucks because if you get a level 30 in there, apparently the game adjusts for the level 30 person, boosts you up to it, but it still means that you're taking the one-shot death because you're really level 7 in a level 30 world that the game just artificially inflated you to. Or, try to find people to play with or just struggle, bust it out. So,
or you can grind,
or you just grind. That's what I've been
which
doing.
is
I've
which
just
is that's what I do. There's more than enough to go around to grind with.
I think I played most of the day yesterday and only touched 2 actual main missions and just did
Oh
all
yeah,
the side missions.
because you
And,
find the side missions or the random encounters, or
yeah,
you just find random assholes in the middle of the street.
so
So
I think
there's plenty to do.
I do believe I'm done trying to find collectibles at this point though, because finding those collectibles for 300 XP isn't worth a damn when I can go do a couple side missions and get, a couple thousand XP. So I think I'm.
Here's a trick. When you clear out a region of the encounters and side missions, all the collectibles pop up on your map.
Oh, well then, fuck that. I'll just start doing that. But we've both been playing Division. What level
Yep.
are you?
17?
Holy shit. Got a long way to go. I got some more grinding to do. Better wrap this shit up so I can go back. Actually, I gotta work on photos. Fucking
Yeah,
addicted.
because I went into the Dark Zone at level 15, which was fine. We just stayed in the southernmost region, which has the lighter enemies.
Alright, so that was our little Division sidetrack. What else have you been playing, Carrie?
Well, last night I played The Guest. Started and finished that. And it's a first-person adventure, kind of like Gone Home, where it's one of those, you're stuck in a room, you have all these puzzles to solve. You may not be able to figure out how to do this one, but you get to a different room, you'll figure it out, like, oh, I need that to do this, and it's one of those, and it took me about 3 hours, and all the puzzles I'd say were fair except for one that I just could not figure out. Finally went to the internet, and I still don't understand the solution. I've gone to forums, and they're like, what's like this? And people are like, oh yeah, I get that. Everyone else like, yeah, no, that's reaching. we don't get it. And it did not end how I expected it would. So, I mean, I'll give it that, but it's kind of depressing as shit. And don't expect a real explanation. I mean, right now it's on sale for $7.99, which is not bad for a 4-hour game. But my friend Jen did not like it. She texted me this morning and was like, well, that was some pretentious crap.
Oh, the
So I don't
pretentious.
feel that strongly about it. But I did send a message to my community manager friend who told me I needed to play this. And I was like, what? It's like, I have a serious question to ask you. What the fuck depressing shit did you send me to?
The Guest. Some
The
depressing
Guest.
shit. That's the box quote right there from Action Trip.
I mean, the way it starts out is that you're this professor who's been called to speak at some conference, and you're in a hotel, but you wake up at 4 in the morning and realize this is not a hotel room and you've been kidnapped, and you have to figure out how to escape.
Okay, then.
Hmm.
So again, the box quote from Action Trip. The Guest. Some depressing shit.
I'm not putting that in my review.
10 out of 10.
No.
11 out of 10. Because it's so good.
No.
So 3 hours.
No, I've already been crucified for my 9.1 on the Division.
Well,
No.
whatever. It's the internet. Whatever. So what is the game retail for when it's not on sale?
It's on
$10.
$9.99.
Okay.
It's not bad.
3 hours, $10. I've done worse.
I mean, Gone Home was 15 and it took me 2 hours to beat it, so, if you're going to go that route. And I'd say this is better than Gone Home. Yeah, I said it.
Oh shit!
Mm-hmm.
Here comes all the negative comments. Please like and subscribe. Anyway, anything else you've been playing, Carrie?
No, not yet.
Oh, great. Well, let's see. Besides the Division, I still playing Grim Dawn. I'm on the fence. It's better than Path of Exile for me. Path of Exile is still a little clunky, but Grim Dawn. So I finally beat the game, and I want to say it took me 30-ish hours to beat the game. The end boss was a really weird cephalopod thing. I don't even know. I'm actually trying to listen to the story this time so I can figure out what the fuck I just fought. But yeah. So now I'm playing on Elite. So after you beat the game,
It's like a new game plus.
yeah, it's like a new game plus. So like Diablo, as you
I'm
beat the
playing on the
game,
Inferno difficulty.
it unlocks harder difficulty. So now I'm playing on Elite, and the first thing that I noticed is that I went into Elite. I think I was level 44 or something like that. I was way under leveled. So the nice thing about Grim Dawn is that you can actually revert back. So I went your character. I was like, I'm gonna go back and play on the easier level and finish up because I had some quests that I didn't finish. I was wondering, well, now that I've started this game, is it going to, if I go back to an easier difficulty, is it going to put me back where I just started the new game, or is it going to load up my other game? The nice thing about Grim Dawn is that if you go back to an easier difficulty, it reverts you back to what you were doing before. So when I went back to the easier difficulty, all my quests that I hadn't finished were still there. And I was like, oh, well, let's go finish these off now. So that was really cool. I was like, oh, that's a really fucking handy feature. Way to go, guys. So I finished that off. I got up to, I think I was like 48 when I finally finished all that off. Went into the Elite again. Started having a little bit easier time. But now I'm starting to find where the game is starting to falter, and that is you'll be cruising along, killing all these mobs. They're all about the level that you're at, you know, for where you're working with the story. And then all of a sudden you get a mob that's 10 levels higher than you, just thrown in there randomly, and you die. And then you have to do it. So the fun thing about this one is that you have to do a corpse run if you want the experience back. You don't lose your gear. No. You don't lose the gear. You just lose a chunk of XP. So it's not terrible. Like if you don't want to do the corpse run, you don't have to. The most you're doing is losing. At this point, I'm losing about 4,000 XP, which is, I don't know, 10 minutes worth of work. So it's not terrible. But there's still that whole like, I got to go back and get my little tombstone. I have to click on it so I can get that XP back. But I'm starting to find that part is really frustrating because you'll be roaming along. Every once in a while, you'll find a bunch of green enemies, and you're like, oh yeah, let's just nuke the shit out of these people. And then you got your normal standard guys. And then just out of nowhere, here is somebody 10 levels above you that just rocks your world. Just destroys you. And that part gets frustrating. But apparently I'm a masochist in this aspect because I'm just like, oh, no. You don't fucking fuck up Vlad the Heartless. Oh, to hell with you. The other aspect is like this time I've been trying to do different choices on some of those, some of the characters that you meet early in the game. So last time there was two people. There was a little party that were traveling together, and you find one partner and he's like dying, and then there's a second partner that you find up a little bit later. So the first time I talked to him and he's like, oh well, that guy was a jerk, and I was like, yeah, he was a jerk. Just let him die. We'll let him die. This time when I found the second partner, I was like, no, you're a dick. I'm gonna kill you. Well, what ends up happening is that partner, if you actually talk to them, you let him know that you're on your way to go find, to kill the warden of a prison. And he says, oh, well, here's the trick. Here's the tip. After you kill him, if you go into his bedroom, there's a door behind his bed that you can go into and find this crystal. If you kill the guy and don't have that conversation, you cannot actually get to that little secret hidden area. So I was like, oh, wow. The first time I played, I also killed the chef, the town chef. This time he's alive. He doesn't sell you anything, so I was hoping that like you would actually get like some potions or something. But apparently he's just there for the XP. He's just like, hey, thanks for saving me. I was like, yeah, thanks for the money that I forced out of you for saving you. But so those choices do matter. They do play a little bit. If you're hoping for the procedurally generated maps, that's not going to happen. The maps, as far as I've been able to tell, are all the exact same because there are places where you have to blow up bridges so that way you can get.
I'm really okay with not having procedurally generated all the time.
It makes it really easy so that way you know where to find things. The other thing is that there's that devotion system. I don't know if I really talked too much in depth about that, but it's kind of like adding skills. So you know your pets do 10% more damage. You take 30% less acid damage. Well, you get those all from shrines, so you either have to offer stuff up to the shrines or you have to cleanse them, which is then a whole bunch of mobs come at you. And those shrines are all in the exact same places. So even though I cleaned them up, even though like I cleansed them or I made my sacrifices, whatever, in the easier version, they're still there, and now I get to clean them again. So I'm working my way to getting my 50 devotion points. So my guess is that it's there. Like you can find all the shrines pretty easily, but it's definitely there, so that way you have to play through. There's 3 difficulties. There's the normal with the veteran modifier. There's elite, and then there's like fuck you in the ass hard. So, yeah. But other than that the weird difficulty spike that they have going on right now, where it's just we're gonna throw stuff in there, and I get it. I think I'm like 51 now, so I'm still building my character. I'm still finding weapons and all that other jazz. And they do a great job because they're like, oh, by the way, here's this really cool weapon. We're gonna drop it for you. Oh, but you need 3 levels. So then it sits in my inventory. And I'm like, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that bitch. I'm gonna get it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really like the character building. I really love the dual classing. I think that adds a whole lot of replay value into it because
Right.
now I want to see what other builds I can come up with. The devotion system is kind of cool. The non-random maps is really nice because I'm starting to learn where things are, so that part's pretty good. So it's, what was it, $20 I think it is on Steam. So it's that, to me, I'm already hitting that point where I'm like $1 an hour. I'm already past that. So
it's still on my wish list because I'm just going to wait for a Steam sale.
yeah, I mean, it's, if you like the ARPGs, if you like the Diablos, you like Path of Exile, this is going to be a great one for you because it's a lot of fun. So that's what I've been playing. I played that all last week when I was in Nebraska. So yay, Steam. Thank you, Steam, for your Steam Cloud Sync too. That was lovely. But anyway, that's what I've been playing.
All praise to Steam.
All hail the
For the
Newell.
great Gaben.
All hail Newell. And with that, Carrie, why don't you take us home?
Yes. You can subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to see more of these wonderful videos, and you can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. As soon as Google Play opens up their podcast store, we will be on there as well. You can follow all of us on Twitter. I'm at Crunchy Chocobo. Chris is at Starvin, and the site is at Strategy Reviews. We are also on Instagram. I actually started a brand new conversation with some guy on Instagram the other day, and then he ended up finding our videos, and so we are on Instagram too at Strategy Guide Reviews, and not on Pinterest. Haven't made that decision yet, but you can pretty much find us on the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, and our site strategyguidereviews.com, which of course we ask that you read as often as we post.
And hey, if you missed all that, it's right down here. We're all like grown-ups and shit. It's amazing. Oh. And with that, once again, we remind you, don't be a dick on the internet. Don't do it. If you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about going keyboard crusader, thank you, Carrie, for that. If you're thinking about doing that, just stop. Just walk away. Smash your keyboard if you have to. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't smash your keyboard. But walk away. Just don't be a dick on the internet. And with that, we're out. Peace!